I guess it's my turn now. It's funny. I make my living speaking to you all, and now I'm up here, and I don't quite know what to say. In the last few years, we have experienced truly terrifying things and wonderful things. We have lost our town and regained our town. We have met new people. We have met incredible new people. I don't have to tell you that Carlos has perfect hair and teeth like a military cemetery. You have eyes, most of you. Sorry, faceless old woman. I don't need to tell you that his voice is oaky, or that his enthusiasm about science is inspiring and also deeply erotic. So instead, I will tell you this. It hasn't always been an easy few years, but through it all, just knowing that Carlos was there, that no matter what else happened, we would come back to each other, holding hands like two kids flirting on a first date, that's what kept me believing in this town. My love for Night Vale and my love for Carlos are the same love. It is the love of someone who has given their life completely to something beyond themselves. I once described Night Vale as a friendly desert community, where the sun is hot, the moon is beautiful, and mysterious lights pass overhead while we all pretend to sleep. And it still is. I know nowhere friendlier. I know nowhere hotter. The moon is still beautiful. Mysterious lights still pass overhead. And Carlos, I can't wait for every night I get to pretend to sleep next to you. That's it for the party. Thanks to everyone who came and all the kind things you said. Stay tuned next for a drunk, newly married couple long after the well-wishers have left, piling up bags of garbage and stacking chairs in a rented banquet hall because they want to get their deposit back.
Good night.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Lacey. And good night, Night Vale, and every person who can hear my voice. Good night. Listeners, I am sorry to have to report what I next have to report. Old woman Josie, your friend and mine, but more my friend than yours. I mean, beyond Carlos, she is who I am closest with in this strange and friendly town of ours, and she is under hospice care at her home. We're landlocked here in the desert, with no body of water in sight, so back in the 1950s, the city decided to create a public beach made entirely out of municipally burned books that were deemed too dangerous or too boring to read. Carlos and I are so excited about the reopening of the beach. We're already planning a trip in the next few weeks with the family. According to the tourism board, there will be a refurbished boardwalk there with food trucks and carnival games. Beachgoers can stroll down the pier and watch the surfers lie on their boards as we all wait for the oceans to rise dramatically enough that Night Vale finally has a waterfront. Carlos and I visited Josie last Saturday. We brought her and Alondra a framed photo of Josie breaking ground at the new old Night Vale Opera House. For a picture that's only a couple years old, Josie looks so young. It's her smile, I think. Her smile never aged. In the photo, she's wearing a hard hat, orange construction vest, tan jodhpurs, and 5-toed running shoes. She's holding a shovel filled with dirt in front of a sign that says, "Opera House, coming soon." She was so proud of Night Vale that day. I showed the picture to Josie, who was lying in her bed, eyes open. She didn't respond. I wished I had visited sooner, but I was glad to have seen her again before she leaves us. Carlos patted her hand, and I kissed her forehead. I said, "Josie, Carlos and I love you, as does Alondra, as do all of the angels. And at this point, I heard the citywide angels acknowledged sirens go off, but I didn't care. There were angels all over her house. There have been for years, and I'm sort of tired of pretending they're not there. The angels love you and will take care of you, Josie, I said loudly over the sound of the blaring sirens, and I think I saw that young smile gently touch the corners of her dry, pursed mouth. I'm just happy Kareem is pursuing his dreams, even if he's going to lose all those journalism credits, and today's filing will have to be done by an overworked radio host before he gets to go home to his husband. Gonna be a long path to that degree, Kareem. I'm sure you'll do great. All I know is that Josie loved Night Vale and we loved her. I am going to go to the sculpture garden today to pay my respects. Carlos and I will hold hands and lay flowers at the ash-strewn base of Manzu's towering masterpiece of contemporary sculpture. And then we will purchase a souvenir photo of ourselves screaming in joy and sorrow while engaged in a 120-mile-per-hour freefall, demonstrating our fervent arts advocacy exactly as Josie would have wanted. Carlos has called into the station to let me know that he's thinking quinoa bowls for dinner. Also to remind me that the Dancing on the Stars finale is tonight, and also to say that what happened at the Smithwick house happened a long time ago, and he has no idea how it happened again. And I told him that this is definitely the first time anything like this happened in Night Vale. I mean, I would have remembered something this weird happening in our quiet little town. But he insisted that he studied the Smithwick case already, almost 4 years ago. He doesn't understand how the whole incident could have repeated exactly as it happened before. Reality doesn't allow for that, he said. Well, I suppose there's no accounting for reality. Carlos is intrigued by the popping. He has taken a small task force of his top scientists, Lucia and Nilanjana, to investigate. He placed sensors in a number of locations and is trying to track the epicenter of the sound. Carlos is continuing his investigation into the subterranean popping. There are now also sounds that resemble singing, but not at a frequency that matches any possible human voice. He is trying to examine what alterations could make a human sound like that. One hypothesis is that it could be caused by severe mutations from genetic manipulation or exposure to massive radiation. He also has a chalkboard full of numbers. These are his favorite numbers, and whenever he feels overwhelmed, he can look at the chalkboard and feel like he has more control over his situation. In any case, as the city council says, it's probably fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. As the parade lines form, as we prepare to march out and remember the vicious attack against us, I am drawn, as I am every year, to my own memory of what happened that terrible day. We were starting to feel that we had reached a kind of acceptance of the great change years ago that took our sky and our connection to the rest of the world from us. And those years later, we were going about our business under that blank sky, eating at the Moonlight All-Night Diner, studying at the public library, helping John and Jim Peters in the fields so that our isolated community could continue to have food. We heard the usual loud rumblings like a rock slide above us. But then, there it was, a tower of destruction, an aberration, a terrible apparition, an abomination in our absent sky, and nothing would ever be the same. And afterwards, the years of war, only recently given up as lost. What did we do to deserve all that has happened to us? First, the theft of our sky. And then, years later, the attack. Listeners, do you ever think about the moon? I was sitting outside last night and I thought, does anyone actually know where that thing went? Have there been any studies on this? I'd ask a scientist, but I've never met one in person. I've only heard of the famous scientists like Rosalind Franklin and Lisa Meitner and Hidetaka Miyazaki. I doubt a scientist would ever deign to come to such a small and isolated town as ours, especially now that it's so much more difficult to get here. Carlos and his team have found the source of the subterranean popping noise, but it is not a place we expected any more disturbance from, and it is not a place that I am comfortable with him going. They advanced on the area, nodding to each other to confirm that their suspicion was correct, and making hand signals to indicate that they should have worked out some hand signals before starting. Listeners, I'm sick with apprehension. Carlos, just please be careful. Okay, he's approaching the source. The singing is louder than ever, strange and high-pitched. There are popping noises and a pulsing vibration. He leans cautiously out over the edge, and he looks, and yes, it is as we feared. It is the tiny city under Lane 5 of the Desert Flower Bowling Alley and Arcade Fun Complex. The tiny streets are teeming with tiny parades. There are the loud pops of tiny fireworks, and the singing, which Carlos now confirms matches the unified sound of hundreds of tiny human voices. The last time Carlos approached the city, he entered it and was attacked and almost killed by the residents. This led to years of war with the tiny people, which was mostly quite manageable because they are exceptionally small, but still, caution is warranted. Okay, hold on. I'm going to head over there to give him moral support. So let's return to the farm sounds previously in progress. An abomination in our absent sky. As we marched our memorial march and held aloft our portable shrines to our God and set off our many fireworks, there appeared above us the enormous face of the entity that tried to destroy our city not 4 years ago. Why this great being from beyond chose to return at this moment, I'm not sure, but it leaves me uneasy, listeners. It leaves a feeling that history is bubbling back up, that perhaps another great shift is coming. Like that shift many years ago, when Huntokar the Destroyer, oh great god Huntokar, appeared to us and took our sky away. We have prayed every year to Huntokar, but she has never returned the world that we once lived in. Surely we will fade away, unable to get what we need from the outside world. Why did Huntokar do this to us? We may never know. And then this creature attacking us from the world above, with the giant foot so controversially depicted in the new memorial statue. Looking into his rich, brown eyes today, he was beautiful. Much like us humans, but of course larger, with teeth like a military cemetery, and absolutely perfect hair. No lowly mortal could ever achieve hair that perfect. The last attack from this being led to a disastrous war with these giants, one that nearly ruined our city. I hope that these powerful beings look away from us, leave us forgotten and dying, leave us cut off from the world,